Welcome, Army fans. This is Joe Iacono, along with former Army linebacker, class of 2020 West Point graduate, and current linebacker and special teams stalwart for the Kansas City Chiefs, Cole Christiansen. How you doing tonight, Cole?
Good, Joe. How are you?
Good, good. So, getting ready for the championship game. This is with Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. This is just what the Chiefs do, I guess. Go to AFC championships, go to Super Bowls, win Super Bowls. It's
Yeah,
kind
you're right.
of how regular it is. I guess let's start off there. What is the culture like playing for the Kansas City Chiefs? Clearly, a lot of success. Andy Reid's a great head coach. Talk to me a little bit about the culture. Army football's very famous for their brotherhood and their culture. What's the culture like in Kansas City?
I'd say it's as close to Army as we could probably have gotten in the NFL. I've been on two NFL teams. I was with the Chargers and with Kansas City, and no disrespect to the Chargers, but Kansas City is leaps and bounds more of a brotherhood, I think, than over there. Anyway, it's fantastic. It really is. Everyone here is just completely committed to winning, and everyone here is a professional. They come in and get their work done, and we're really good friends. I think that's been the coolest part, and probably the most similar thing to West Point was we're all buddies, and like when we're not in the building, we're all doing stuff downtown or hanging out, going fishing, going hunting, and I think that's really helped us in our cohesion. And then, like you said, we've got guys like Patrick and Travis and the leaders at the front that are just been carrying this wagon for several years now in the right direction. And it's cool watching them and being a part of it.
That's really cool. Talk about, not only did you land in the NFL, which is, a very small percentage chance in and of itself. I mean, obviously, a lot of it was due to your hard work and your performance in both high school and college. But not only were you blessed to be in the NFL, but with a team that's one of the top teams in the NFL year after year after year. So pretty awesome fortune there to end up with the Kansas City Chiefs. Talk about the play you made on the fake punt last week. That was kind of what got a lot of Army fans excited. Hey, Cole Christiansen made a big tackle, stopped the fake punt. Tell me what you saw there and just how you read it and how you made the play.
Yeah, it was awesome. So the crazy thing, we only had 10 people in the field. I don't know if y'all heard that from the
Yeah,
announcers.
that was what the announcers were saying was Buffalo kind of audibled into a fake. It wasn't a pre-called fake because they saw that Kansas City only had 10 guys on defense.
I think that's accurate. I don't think the Bills were planning on doing it, and we didn't even know that we had 10. But we get on the line of scrimmage, and Damar Hamlin, he starts going through his cadence, and Dion Bush, who's behind us, he verbally says he's acting funny. So our spidey senses start tingling from the get go, and then I look up, and then Damar, he shifts sides. So usually he's on my right, and then he goes to his left. And I look across down the ball, and I look at my buddy Jack, and Jack looks at me, and he's like, fake, fake, fake. So we all start screaming it. And as soon as we said fake, I watched every guy on their front lines muscles tense up because they knew that we were on to them. And I thought it was coming my direction, honestly, because Damar had come to my side. So I stemmed it upfield to get ready to set the edge. And then after the second step, I realized it was going the other way. And then the other guys did an awesome job. It was basically all linebackers. So a bunch of defensive guys know how to make a front. So Jack Cochran set the edge. Leo Chenal went low. Drew Tranquil followed him, and then I just ran down from behind. So it was cool. It's fun to be part of a big play that I think helped us win.
Yeah, that was really cool. A lot of people really enjoyed watching that. For the fans out there, Cole, which special teams are you playing on for the Chiefs? Clearly, punt return. What else?
All four. So kickoff return, punt return.
Cool. And what's your favorite out of those? Do you have a favorite?
I'd probably say kickoff, just because that's kind of reckless abandon. You just fly down there and make a play. There's not quite as much thinking involved on kickoff. You're just being a football player. But they're all fun. Like special teams,
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed being on special teams because it's not something I really did much in college or had a chance to do in college. So getting to the pros and learning how to do it, and then it's just cool because it's the full field. I mean, you're doing a full sprint and you're moving in space. Like it's not a confined tight box like you are when you're playing defense. It's been pretty fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, my big question with kickoff kick return in the NFL is like, how many times am I going to watch kick returners try and take it out and break one and then get tackled at the 12-yard line?
Yeah,
I'm like, at some point, play the percentages and down the ball. I don't know.
that's right. No, I'm with you.
Kind of,
And our coaches are pretty good. When we know that we're going up against a good kickoff unit, I think usually we favor the fair catch. But if we think we can sting a team, we'll bring it out.
good stuff. And with Kansas City, if I'm not mistaken, you're backing up linebacker Willie Gay, who did get hurt a little bit in the last game, but I think he's back. Tell me a little bit about Willie, what you've learned from him. He's a really great player, great linebacker, and maybe just talk about the linebacking core there at Kansas City in general.
Yeah, it's a great group. It really is. It's been awesome to be around those dudes. And it says I back up Willie. I think we all kind of back up all three positions. So I don't think any of us really say that we play one in particular. So we're all feeding off each other at every spot. But Willie's been a great example, just like they all have. Nick Bolton, he's, if not our main leader, he's one of our leaders on defense. So it's been cool being around him and learning the defense from him. He's brilliant. I mean, he's a really brilliant football player. And then Drew Tranquil is actually was on the Chargers with me for 2 years, and then he came to us this year. So it's been fun reuniting with him, and another great football player. So a great addition to our team. But yeah, so like in the camp, I played all three. I think if I was going to go into a game at linebacker, it probably would be at Will behind Willie. But it's kind of plug and play. Whoever goes down, I'm there ready to fill in for anyone, as is everyone else in the room.
And what's that transition been like for you? At Army under Jay Bateman, you always played inside backer. I believe you were the Mike the 3 years you started, and now you said you're playing all three linebacker positions, going from a 3-4 to a 4-3. What's that transition been like for you?
It was hard in the beginning. I think an NFL playbook is substantial. There's no doubt about it, and especially when you're changing. I mean, linebacker's linebacker at the end of the day, so the techniques really aren't terribly different. But learning the language takes a while, and I think our Sam linebacker, who is kind of a hybridized defensive end, that's probably the biggest change physically that I had to learn how to do. I mean, that's a lot of edge setting, and I'm right up there on the line of scrimmage, taking on pulling guards and stuff. So that was a little outside of my wheelhouse, but over time, I think I got the hang of it pretty good. And Will and Mike, it's pretty similar to what we did at Army as far as, like I said, like technique and stuff. But yeah, I remember when I got to the Chargers, it took a while to get a hang of just how to speak NFL football talk. I mean, it really is intense and pretty confusing. And then here in Kansas City, I think this is almost twice as difficult as it was in LA. So it took a little while, but it's fun. It's fun playing for Steve Spagnuolo. He's an awesome defensive coordinator, a great guy, and super, super smart. And it's fun to watch him scheme up these plans for these teams, because I mean, it's stuff that I wouldn't even thought to do. And he's so aggressive, and like watching his pressures and how he thinks of where to send guys and how to trick offenses. I mean, it's fun to watch.
That's cool. You actually took my next question. I was going to ask you what it was like playing for Spags. I've always been a Giants fan in the NFL, and he won the Super Bowls with them back in the day when he was DC there, and just his 4-man pressures as well as his blitz packages always really impressed me. So yeah, you kind of just took the thunder there, so that was good. Appreciate you rolling on that one. And yeah, it's got to be exciting playing for a guy like that. Like you said, he's super aggressive, super smart. How excited I can't remember last year. I know you got your Super Bowl ring. Did you get to play at all in the AFC Championship or the Super Bowl, or is this going to be your first on-field action in the championship game?
It's my first time in the championship game. Yeah, last year was pretty quiet. I was only up for one game. We had a really healthy room, which is a great thing for our team. But yeah, I was pretty dormant most of the year, and this year's been pretty crazy because I was up for 2 games. I think week 3 or 4, 4 and 5, and then I tore my hamstring against the Jets.
Right,
and I was down for 8 weeks, and then I came back several weeks ago just on practice squad, going through those deals, and then I got signed to the 53 just before this past game. So it's been a roller coaster of a year, but I'm really excited to get to play in a championship game. And last week was a blast. I mean, that's the first playoff game I've actually played in. And the atmosphere was insane. Buffalo is a pretty fun place to play.
Yeah, Buffalo's crazy, right? Bills Mafia. I was
Yeah.
gonna ask you, clearly different, kind of different mindset, but I know the atmosphere is crazy in both. Kind of compare maybe like playing in Army Navy versus playing like in a NFL playoff game, like super intense in both atmospheres. Like not saying one's more intense than the other or less, but just how are they the same and how are they different a little bit, if you could go into that.
Yeah. Well, I've said this to all my teammates that I think the Army Navy game still beats any NFL game, even up to the Super Bowl. And I remember when I was in my last Army Navy game, I said, the only thing that I think could top this in intensity or cool factor might be a Super Bowl. And then after I got to the Super Bowl, Army Navy still had beaten it. I mean, there's nothing that can top the Army Navy game. And I really mean that. There's just, that game means so much to so many people for the right reasons. I mean, the NFL's got a lot of people watch it, and yes, it's a big deal and it's the pinnacle of our sport. But the Army Navy game, I mean, it just pulls your heartstrings, and it's such a meaningful game to play in. To me, it felt that those games always felt like the Super Bowl, because to us, that is the biggest
Yeah.
game of the year. And to everyone that has served and cares about that game, it's their Super Bowl too. So they're very, very similar in that aspect. And to me, winning an Army Navy game, truthfully, probably means more than even winning a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean you're not alone or unique in that stance. I've talked to a number of other players or even coaches who've been around both atmospheres, and I think your response is actually on par with what I've heard from a lot of folks. So not super surprising, but good to hear that Army Navy is still the game in all football, which is pretty amazing. So you talked a little bit about how last year was kind of a difficult year for you, and then this year you came back. You were on the 53 and then you got hurt and then you came back to the practice squad and then you got moved up to the 53 before the playoffs started or right before the last game. And I think, over your 5 years, you started with the LA Chargers, obviously as a West Point grad, undrafted free agent, you weren't drafted, kind of been, probably like a lot of the other West Point grads who are trying to make their way in the NFL, John Radigan, Elijah Riley, some of those guys, Andre Carter, the constant underdog, right? Just like you were for 4 years when you played at the academy, always the underdog role. What's that like? And just talk a little bit to kind of your persistence and if you have kind of not advice necessarily, but what do you think are some of the character traits that have allowed you to succeed in a very, very competitive industry like the NFL, where you're constantly going up against absolute superstar athletes on a week in, week out basis?
It's certainly been tough. I mean, this is a very hard business to get in and a very hard business to stay in. But it definitely takes a certain level of mental toughness and persistence. And I think West Point gave me that. I think coming out of high school, I probably didn't have nearly enough of it, and West Point absolutely developed that in me. And then, yeah, like you said, we have been underdogs, and when you're being undrafted for one's an underdog, but then coming from an academy, which by most NFL standards probably isn't considered a powerhouse of a football manufacturer, football player manufacturer. But truthfully, I think that background's helped me stay around, because a lot of coaches and general managers, I think, see value in having us in the locker room, beyond even just our football abilities, but being good locker room teammates and glue guys that keep the team together. And I think we share certain insights from our experiences that probably help a lot of guys that haven't really experienced a lot of things we have. So in that regard, I think it's helped me stay in the league. And I've talked to Eli and John, and they've both agreed that it's been a positive for them in terms of staying employed. But I'm just really, really grateful to this is my fourth year, going on my fifth. I've never thought that I would have been in the league this long. I was grateful just to even get a chance on the team in the first place.
Right.
And that's what's made it really nice. I think, like, every time I go on the practice field, I look around and I'm just like, dude, how lucky am I that I get to be here? So like some of these guys, these first, second round picks that aren't playing a lot, they're like, man, what is this? I thought I was going to be starting. I should be this, should be that. And even though my role's been pretty limited over the past 4 years, I'm just thankful that I'm able to be a part of it. And any chance that I get to play, I try to make the most of it. And I think this past week was a good game for me, and I was happy that I was able to step up and make the most of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, having that attitude of gratitude, to use a cliche, probably helps a lot. Whereas, like you said, some guys maybe don't appreciate the opportunity as much as you might, or John or Eli or Andre with Minnesota. I know I heard Pete Carroll in an interview earlier this year talk about what a great locker room guy Radigan was. So that was pretty cool. All right. So off to the AFC Championship this weekend against the Baltimore Ravens, formidable opponent. Lamar Jackson, who's another superstar dual threat quarterback who can hurt you with his feet and his arms. What, as you kind of get prepared for Baltimore, what concerns you the most about their offense?
Well, it's very similar to the Bills, obviously. Like Josh Allen was the
Josh
problem
Allen.
maker for us last
Yeah.
week, and Lamar is going to be the same. They are a very good football team. I think we've got a good plan going in right now, but it will be stopping Lamar will be the make or break for us. And they've got weapons all over the place. I mean, they've got OBJ, Flowers, who's having an awesome year. Their stable of running backs are all really good. A tough O line, but it's going to be a fist fight, especially with the Northeastern teams. I think, at least I've
Right.
noticed, they're the bully ball type of football in the NFL. They're always bigger. They just try to beat you up in the line of scrimmage. So if we win the physical battle up front, I think we got a really good shot. And then if we can keep Lamar in the pocket and try to eliminate the explosive plays that he can create with his legs and his arm, I think we'll be in good shape.
Good stuff. Well, thank you very much, Cole. Best of luck to you on Sunday against the Baltimore Ravens. I think most of the West Point grads and Army fans will be pulling for the Kansas City Chiefs this weekend. So very excited. You'll be representing everybody, and very proud of your accomplishments in the NFL. Army fans, this has been Joe Iacono with Go Black Knights. Subscribe to GoBlackKnights.com. We have great exclusive interviews like this with NFL players like Cole Christiansen, John Radigan, Army players, coaches, special guests from the media. We have really first to market recruiting news with a lot of class of 24 and class of 25 recruits. Help you stay on top of all the Army recruiting. We'll be doing some great exclusive interviews and coverage and articles coming up in the spring practice. And that'll be it for tonight. Go Army, beat Navy.